رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه وبعد. So tonight, inshallah, the last episode of Alim, the all-knowing. So in the last couple of episodes, we're talking about the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And last night, we were talking about our knowledge. And tonight, we'll complete that session, inshallah, about our knowledge. If you look at Surah Kahf, which is the center of Surah in the Quran, if you count the pages before and after, then Surah Kahf is right. Surah Kahf is right in the middle of the Quran. Surah Kahf is right in the middle of the Quran. And in the middle of that surah, there is the ayah, right in the middle of that surah, that talks about Yawm al-Qiyamah, and everyone is getting their book and being questioned about different things. There are two stories before and two stories after, right? So pay close attention to this. So Surah Kahf is right in the middle of the Quran. And in that middle surah, there is this middle ayah right in the middle of the surah. وَوُضِعَ الْكِتَابُ فَتَرَى الْمُجْرِمِينَ مُشْفِقِينَ مِمَّا فِيهِ. It talks about the judgment on Yawm al-Qiyamah. And there are two stories before and two stories after. And I'm going to explain this in a minute. So, I know some people who have written some books. And if I leave a legacy behind, I think this book would be my legacy. The Clear Quran, which is, I think, Wallahu Alam, is the finest translation of the Quran to date. It's easy, clear, smooth. The flow is good, alhamdulillah. Most of us here, and actually most of humanity, don't know that every and each one of us is actually an author of a book. I didn't know, man. You actually authored a book? I'm proud of my book, and people ask for my signature. I'm proud of it. I say, mashallah, I've contributed this to the deen. But many people in Yawm al-Qiyamah, they will be running away from their book. They will distance themselves from that book, and they say, I have nothing to do with it. I didn't author it. It is not mine. And this is the book of deeds. Everything that we do is recorded. Now it makes sense. So now, this ayah in Surah Kahf, in the middle of the Quran, talks about the book of deeds. And there are some certain questions we'll be getting on that day. Two questions before and two questions after, based on the two stories before and after. So what does Surah Kahf have to do with all of this? The questions on Yawm al-Qiyamah and knowledge, what are you talking about? You're not making any sense tonight, Sheikh. Have you eaten, I call it, I'm under the, what do you call it? Driving under influence, right? Yes, I'm talking under the influence of biryani. D-U-I-B. Okay. The Prophet ﷺ says in an authentic hadith in at-Tirmidhi, لا تزول أو لا تزول قدم عبد يوم القيامة حتى يسأل عن أربع. Your feet will not be moved on Yawm al-Qiyamah until you are questioned about four things. You receive four questions on Yawm al-Qiyamah. One of them about your youth years. When you were 16, 18, 20 years old, what did you do? When you were healthy, when your mental capacity, what was at the top, that was the prime of your life, what did you do? And Allah will ask you about your wealth. How did you gain your money and how did you spend it? And He will ask you about your knowledge. Knowledge. Al-ilm. Wa-ilmihi. ماذا عمل فيه. Your knowledge. What did you do with your knowledge? You knew this is haram, but you did it. You knew this is fard, you have to do it, but you didn't do it. This is the knowledge. And number four, your life. You lived in this world 60 years, 70 years. What did you do with your life? So these are the four questions that we'll get on Yawm al-Qiyamah according to this authentic hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. And guess what? The four stories in Surah Kahf, in the middle of the Quran, talk about these four things. The first story, the youth in the cave, the youth. Second story, the man of the two gardens, the wealthy man with his money. And the third story, Musa wal-Khidr, the man of knowledge. Knowledge is number 3. And number 4, how you spent your life, Dhul Qarnayn, and how he spent his life in the service of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the hadith that talks about Yawm al-Qiyamah, the questions you will get, the book. And these four questions correspond to, each one of them corresponds to one of the stories in Surah Kahf. And this is why it is recommended to read it every Jum'ah to remind you of the four questions that we will get. So now, inshallah, in the second half of my talk, I will focus on knowledge. Because there is so much knowledge in the world. There is fard knowledge, haram knowledge, permissible knowledge, and the ulama say permissible knowledge, if you become a doctor, you study engineering or something, this is permissible. Fard knowledge is the knowledge of Islam, halal and haram, the sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the haram knowledge is like black magic. If you study, for example, how to make money out of riba, if you study how to do like winery to make wine, khamr, all this is haram knowledge. Some people, Allah gave them knowledge, but they didn't use it in the right way. They created the nuclear bomb, the atomic bomb. They killed so many people that He gave them knowledge, but they used it to destroy humanity. Some people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them knowledge. There are thousands of people. They have PhDs from Yale and Harvard. PhDs from Yale and Harvard, the highest level of education in the world. And they say Allah doesn't exist. There is no proof. Whereas someone who lives in the desert, or someone who is a farmer in my village, they can't read and write, they can't read, and they say, no, Allah exists. You see, when you walk in the street, and you see, for example, the hoofs, the footprints of a cat, or a goat, or a donkey, this is a proof that these animals exist. وَلِلَّهِ الْمَثَلُ الْأَعْلَى, they say, if you see the stars, and the moon, and the trees, and the galaxies, this is a proof that someone exists who is running the show. These are people who come from the village. They couldn't read or write and they didn't go to school. And you see people from Yale and Harvard and they say, we are descendants of monkeys. There's no creator. And this is what they say. This reminds me of the story. A guy came from school one day, 7 years old, and he went to his mom in the kitchen and he said, Mom, where did we come from? She said, honey, we came from Adam and Eve, we are human. And he went to his dad in the living room and he said, Dad, mom said we came from Adam and Eve, we are human. What do you say? His dad said, no, don't listen to your mom. We are monkeys. We came from monkeys. He is a believer in Darwinism, right? So we evolved from monkeys. So the kid ran back to his mom and he was so confused. Steam was coming out of his head. His head was about to explode. I said, Mom, I asked you where we came from. You said we came from Adam and Eve, we are human. My dad said we came from monkeys. I'm so confused. So his mom said, no, there's no confusion here. I was talking about my family. Your dad was talking about his family. Just a bunch of monkeys. Now, the people who will be in a difficult situation on Yawm al-Qiyamah with regards to their knowledge, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them the knowledge of right and wrong. They knew this is haram, but still they did it. They know this is fard, you have to do it, and they didn't do it. And the people who use their knowledge, there are some people who use their knowledge to enlighten people, make da'wah, to make sure people are on the Siratul Mustaqim. And there are some people who use their knowledge to argue and debate and to make sure you are deviant, min ad-dallin. These are the people, the first group, who make sure they make da'wah so everyone inshallah will go to Jannah. And the second group, they use their knowledge to prove that everyone except for themselves is going to Jahannam. This is the type of people who have fake knowledge. If you have the right knowledge, then we should make da'wah, enlighten people, and make sure, inshallah, when we leave this world, we're taking as many people as we can, Muslims and non-Muslims, to Jannah with us, because we use our knowledge for the benefit of humanity. And this is something Muhammad ﷺ could have done. He was keen, harisun alaykum. He was keen on you. He was keen to take everyone with him to Jannah. And there are so many hadith that explain this, the hadith of the fire, and people keep jumping and I'm inside the fire like flies and I'm trying to protect you. So the Prophet ﷺ was using his knowledge to take everyone to Jannah. But some people in our world today, whatever ideology they follow, radicalized, whatever, wallahu a'lam, they say, if you don't follow my way, then everyone is going to Jahannam. So basically they are sending 1% or less than 1% to Jannah, everyone is going to Jahannam. No, you should use the knowledge to serve humanity. Make sure, inshallah, everyone is going to Jannah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us beneficial knowledge and to give us our books in our right hands. Ameen, ameen. And to give us Jannat al-Firdaus with Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba kiram. The question for last night. Bani Israel, فضلتكم على العالمين وأمة محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم من سورة آل عمران كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس. To make this easy, inshallah, back in 1998, if someone said that Windows 98 is the finest Windows that has ever been produced, is this correct or no? Correct. 1998. Back in 1998. But not today. So this is true in the case of Banu Israel. At that time, they were the finest in their time. But when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Kuntum khayra ummatin to the Muslim ummah, this is just like Mac or Windows 10. This is the finest. And let's assume there is no other Windows coming in the future, and this is the last, and this is the finest. Of all time, 1998, 2007, 2017, 2050, it will always be the finest, and this is the easiest way to look at it, inshallah. The winner is Brother Mahmoud Rashid. MashaAllah, takbir. Good job, man. Jazakallah. Barakallahu feek. Barakallahu feek. The question tonight, who is the first believer? Is it Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam or Musa alayhi salam? Because when you read the Quran, you get both. وَأَنَا أَوَّلُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَأَنَا أَوَّلُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. Musa alayhi salam said, I'm the first believer. And Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, I'm the first believer. Which one of them is the first believer? If you know the answer, email me at Imam Mustafa at Anatolia Center.ca before tomorrow, inshallah. Jazakallah.